Welcome, everybody, to the American Space Museum. I'm Marquette. We're so glad you're with us to stay curious today. We've got a wonderful program for you today about four women. We celebrate Women's History Month with four outstanding lady astronauts who have combined spent 501 days in space on 16 different missions. These are some of the top astronauts in the Corps, whether they were women or not. You'll know who they are immediately when we start profiling them there. But got Marty with me, my co-producer, and we're into our fourth year here, Marty. And we chose today to go back exactly 1 year when everyone was going Artemis crazy. The Artemis rocket space launch system was out on the pad. That's a picture that I took of it during twilight before they run you out of the wildlife preserve there on Merritt Island. But the pieces and parts are coming together for Artemis 2, meaning the actual pieces and parts are coming here. And so we'll be seeing a new one out there. Hopefully in a year is when we're going to be launching Artemis 2 to loop around the moon. But a pretty picture to keep you entertained here, to think about our space travels, and it all starts with a rocket there. So we also want to remind everybody that Shuttle Fest 2 is chugging along, being 2 weeks from this weekend. I've secured a couple other people to be presenters at this event that we're hoping to make a A-list event for you space geeks out there. If you take your smartphone and hit the QR code there with your app, you can get in for $15 instead of $20 and choose your box lunch for $12. We have a salad and a sandwich to make it easy. But we're going to be celebrating the documentary, The Base to Space. It's all about the launch platform that's underneath the crawler that the shuttle's sitting on top of, in this beautiful photo by our friend Ann Miklos. Hope Ann's doing well out there, and hopefully you can come and meet her. Yeah, Marty's pointing out that the mobile base is that piece right there that's built by Navy type engineers, and everyone that's been in it said it's like being on a ship because it's got the type of doorways that you got to lift your feet up. What?
That's the crawler.
That's the crawler there. Yeah. Kick your mic on there, Marty, so they can hear you there on our UCAC mic. That's the crawler. And then the base to space is what is being picked up and carried out on the shuttle there to one of the pads. So hope that you can join us live. If not, we will be having this on our YouTube and Facebook programs as we did last year, and you could contribute 10 or 20 bucks then if you want. If you can't attend, go to that site and you can make a donation to the museum anyway. And we do appreciate donations, particularly gohistorytravel.org gave a very healthy donation to the American Space Museum. We're grateful for that, just like we are to Dave Stange and his healthy donation to our museum. We are a tax-exempt 501c3, and so if you're enticed to need some tax breaks, we'll take it off your hands and send you the form to send to Uncle Sam. So thank you. Go Travel History. I think you will enjoy this site when you go there. Wanted to brag on us a little bit, Marty. I had this racked up for the slides. Episode 580 was on March 29th, 2022, and today is episode 783. And I have a hard time believing that I've been talking to you like this off the top of my head for over 780 episodes. But we've enjoyed it. We love it. We know that you space geeks love it, and we want to branch out and let's get bigger numbers up there so we can share this with more people as we bring you astronaut interviews, conversations with space workers, and of course, space history, and lots of conversation about our astronauts. There's that picture Marty chose for a green screen, as I was going to remind everybody we had Artemis fever a year ago. And also remind us that 40 years ago they were thinking about how to build a shuttle, when it was 50 years ago when the Nixon administration actually okayed the money, 51 years ago to be exact. So this is a concept from the 50-year ago era of what that would look like, deploying a satellite there. Kind of the way it turned out, a little different profile, so forth. Well, you know what we love doing on Stay Curious is celebrating happy birthdays out there. And we've got two today, two astronauts born on March 29th. First one is Bill O'Flynn. William Anthony Bill O'Flynn was born March 29th, 1965 in Fort Belvoir, Virginia. He considers Anchorage, Alaska to be his hometown, where he's a real outdoorsman there. If the name rings a bell, yes, O'Flynn is the guy who gained media attention in February 2007 when his fellow astronaut girlfriend Lisa Nowak was arrested in Florida and charged with kidnapping O'Flynn's girlfriend, U.S. Air Force Captain Colleen Shipman. And Nowak pleaded guilty. She was punished. O'Flynn married Colleen Shipman. They have a son and living happily ever after in Alaska. So it ended up good for him anyway, Marty. And Lisa Nowak's gone to in obscurity, and that's fine. Though she was a Navy commander, we keep her on the board in our women's gallery because she did fly to space. And people have problems. I think it just emphasizes, Marty, how whoever you are, life can get pretty deep, and whether you're an astronaut or just a regular Joe Schmo like me, it's challenging at times, and we do make stupid mistakes, and that was definitely a pretty good one there. Well, other astronaut that's a very cool cat. Marty and I met him, all right? We met Mike Foreman, Michael James Foreman, born on March 29th, 1957. All right, so happy 66th birthday to you, sir. He's a retired U.S. Navy pilot. He was born in Columbus, Ohio, but grew up in Wadsworth, Ohio. That's around the Akron area. I'm familiar with that because my father flew and my uncle flew airplanes out of Wadsworth Airport. 2 shuttle flights for Mike, 26 days in space. He was on STS-123. Marty, we visited him out the Space Center. I didn't pull one of them pictures off because I was kind of too busy today, but he is the elected mayor of Friendswood, Texas, a Houston suburb, and his wife is a civil engineer, and guess what? They do it for free. I asked him that when he appeared, and he said that it was a volunteer job to give back to the community up there. Foreman mentioned that he said that nobody in the shuttle era wanted to be called the co-pilot. All right. So the pilot really is called the commander, and the co-pilot is called the pilot. All right. And all the pilot does is push a button to make the wheel come down. But he has had some interesting space flights. STS-123, he was on space this month of March. And did I grab my month of March? Yeah, here we are. I want to just glance at that real quick. 123, because he was talking about some of the mates he went up with, Marty. He was up with Bob Benkin, who, of course, was on the demo too, and Greg Johnson, Tao Dow, and Rick Lennon. And let's see. Like I said, he had 3 spacewalks. Helped build the International Space Station on 129, and that was the crew that brought back Nicole Stott from her Expedition 21. And he said it took 6 hours to convert the orbiter into a spaceship once it got up there and get everything put away and so forth. So, and he said at EVA that the is an amazing view, but it's a misnomer to call it a walk, because he said I was grabbing handrails the whole time. And he did one of the longest spacewalks of 9 hours. And he said at 8 years old, Mike Foreman was watching Anders Lovell orbit the moon, and he wanted to be an astronaut. So, and he did that, and he's a great guy, and one of the people that support the astronaut encounter at the Kennedy Space Center Visitors Complex. Happy birthday to you, Mike Foreman. Well, let's get into our women of the shuttle that were in orbit in March as we celebrate Women's History Month. And though Eileen Collins was not one of those March astronauts, she's one of my heroes. We want to explore. We're curious people. Look back over history. People have put their lives at stake to go out and explore. We believe in what we're doing. Now it's time to go. And that's one of Eileen's quotes there. Real inspiration to, like I said, me as a man, not just a woman. Met her several times, and she's a charming, just very interesting person. And a book is written about her, Breaking the Glass Ceiling, with our good friend Jonathan Ward. But the four ladies we want to feature today, the first one is Kathy Sullivan. Let me put my shuttles of the month away there. Kathy Sullivan was born in Paterson, New Jersey, October 3rd, 1951. So she is 60, going to be 60, she's 62 years old now, going to be 62. She's a graduate of California, Santa Cruz, and I'll bet she's the only astronaut, Marty, to come from Dalhousie University in Nova Scotia, Canada. You think I'd win that bet? Yes. Well, quite an extraordinary lady. Of course, she was one of the first 6 women chosen in that group of 35 guys and girls. 22 days in space, 1 EVA of 3.5 hours. All right. She not only has gone to space, she is the only person to dive into she's the only woman, she's the first woman to dive in the Mariana Trench, the deepest part of Earth's oceans, and she's the only person to go to that deepest part of the Earth and also be orbiting the Earth. And that's pretty cool. She was Undersecretary of Commerce for Oceans during the Obama administration. This is what, and I'm going to show this, looking at a couple other pictures of Kathy there. There's that's the mission she was on this month, Atlas, which is the atmospheric, very important test. There she is in space. That Atlas program, it set the bedrock for what is going on 30 years later in the global climate change community. This is a quote from John Glenn, and he said this: Kathy is not just an ivory tower scientist. She was part of NASA's first class of female astronauts selected in 1978 and went on to fly 3 shuttle missions. She is the first American woman to walk in space, served aboard the mission that deployed the Hubble Space Telescope. That role in helping humanity look outward has not prevented her from looking homeward. The planet is suffering increasingly severe upheavals, at least partly as a result of climate change, droughts, floods, typhoons, tornadoes. I believe my good friend Kathy's the right person for the right job at the right time. And that's what John Glenn said in 2014 when she was named Time's 100 list of most influential women of all time. So what a nice tribute from Mr. John Glenn there. So and here's Kathy. Right now in life, she was involved in the Oceanographic Service. She's very involved in the Ohio State University's Battelle Center for Math and Science Policy. Battelle is a real think tank institution, and they certainly have a brainiac on board there to keep our future bright. That's her official portrait when she was in the Obama administration as Assistant Deputy to Oceanographic Services. And there she is with our good friend Nicole Stott and, of course, moonwalker Charlie Duke at Space Fest a few years ago. And I actually thought Kathy was a lot bigger than Nikki there, but obviously she's a little bit shorter in there. But we have her handprints. We do Kathy's proudly in bronze in our women's gallery there next to Eileen Collins's and, of course, Sally Rides. So there's 2 exceptional ladies and an exceptional moonwalker to celebrate our March month of wonderful women. The next one up is hard to beat, and this is her own quote. We're going to talk about Shannon Lucid, and Shannon says this: basically all my life I'd been told you can't do that because you're a female. So I guess I just didn't pay any attention. I just went ahead and did what I could. And then when the stars aligned, I was ready. And that is a theme, Marty, that we hear a lot in our astronaut encounters that we really joyfully go out and see, is these astronauts say, be ready when your opportunity knocks. Okay, you never know when the first team player is going to have something happen and the second team's got to play. And that's a philosophy in sports. It's a philosophy in life, to be ready when your opportunity comes by. Shannon Lucid did not have an easy time, okay, at all. She, of course, is the only woman to live on the Mir space station. She was born in Shanghai, China, to Baptist missionary parents, and they settled in Bethany, Oklahoma, and that's really her roots, Oklahoma area. She went to University of Oklahoma. She's a biochemist, got her PhD and master's at the University of Oklahoma. And then she went on and was selected, of course, as the first women in there. And a space ambassador indeed. She's 80 years old in January, okay? And, she talks about that it was just, here's a quote from her. It was just really, really tough getting anything when you were a female. Basically, I just took advantage of everything I could. But when people are going to flat out tell you that they're not going to hire anyone that's female, there's not much you can do about it. Now, this 80-year-old woman remembers that. Maybe you in your 30s and 40s don't remember or have experienced things like that, but you owe a lot to this woman and all the women of my baby boomer generation who stood up to men and said, I can do it, get out of my way. I'm a man that happens to think that this should have happened a long time ago for our women. But there's a lot of quotes. She says again, I was really desperate. I don't know if you can remember back that far, but when I went to graduate school, they didn't want females in graduate school. They were very open about it. They didn't mince their words. But then I got in and I got my degree. So there's a real pioneer talking about how tough it was for her. Let's see, she's got two granddaughters, a son. I mean, she's got two daughters and a son. I love seeing pictures of her with her grandkids. There she signed the Newsweek article, 188 Days in Space. She has spent 223 total days in space because she flew in space 5 times. And, of course, that Mir space station stay, I'm sure she's not written everything she would like to write about that. She has stayed on the space station, and our final astronaut we're going to talk about visited it twice, okay, including when she was on there. Such an inspiration Shannon Lucid is for what she had to, quote, put up with from men. There she is on the Mir space station. Well, like I said, Marty, she probably hasn't written the book she would like to. When she was with different men crews that were rotated out of the Mir on her, 188 days up there. And, she's with a bunch of Russian astronauts. And so I'd say there'd be a little chauvinism going on up there. But she is awesome. She endured that. And we owe a lot to her. There she is just a few years ago. Like I said, she's 80 years old. I would give anything for her to attend our Shuttle Fest. And I'm going to make a move for her to come when we celebrate the 30th anniversary of the Shuttle Mir years in 2025 and 2026, and 2024, I mean. So, 25 and 26 will be the Shuttle Mir years. So, hats off to you, Shannon Lucid. We owe you a debt that we can never repay. You women do for the barriers that you broke, along with our Eileen Collins. Next up in our astronauts, a quote from another woman astronaut, Ansara Ansari. She was the Iranian who is a wealthy, wealthy, wealthy lady who paid for her own trip to space. And she says this: if people can see Earth from up here, see it without those borders, see without any differences in race or religion, they would have a completely different perspective. Because when you see it from that angle, you cannot think of your home or your country. All you can see is one Earth. And how many times is that echoed by astronauts out there? That's why these private companies like Blue Origin and Virgin Galactic want to fly you suborbital up there so you can experience the awe and wonder that Ansara Ansari experienced on her. She spent about 10 days, I think, on the International Space Station and paid for it all on her own. But here's a woman that she was on the second crew of the ISS. All right. Susan Jane Helms was born February 26, 1958 in Charlotte, North Carolina. She has been a member of 5 space shuttle missions and a resident of our Expedition 2 crew on the ISS in 2001. All right. 22 years ago, the second crew we sent up there had a woman. Okay. Just to show you, it doesn't matter, man, woman, color. She was chosen for her skills to be on that second expedition, and I don't underestimate that. Born in Charlotte, but she considers Portland, Oregon to be her hometown. She plays the piano, and she had 1 EVA for 8 hours, but she was on, like I said, 4 missions, 4 shuttle missions and an expedition crew mission, so that's 5 total. All right. 211 days in space, and then when she retired, she became involved with the U.S. Air Force. She was promoted to Major General in August 2009, is now a Lieutenant General, and she was the Air Force Space Command commander at one point in time. She can fly 30 different U.S. and Canadian aircraft. Of course, been highly decorated. She's a general, okay? And she was nominated by President Barack Obama to become the Vice Commander of the Air Force Command in 2013. And I'll bet many women haven't held that position at all. And again, Marty, somebody I would dearly love to meet and have a conversation with on Stay Curious. Oh, we got to show you some. There she is in space. How computers work. Okay, out there, and then and of course her spacewalks in there. And that is your Susan Helms there, and a NASA, one of NASA's most experienced women in space. And finally, but not last, but we give you a quote from Valentina Tereshkova, of course, the first woman in space. And her quote is, "A bird cannot fly with only one wing. Human spaceflight cannot develop any further without active participation of women." Now, I'm not sure if she said that during her flight or not, because I don't know if the communist CCCP there would endorse that, as they only put her up there as a propaganda ploy to tout that communist women were superior to the free women in the West. But she is in her 80s, was a big Politburo person in Russia, and still promotes space and so forth. And, she was brave enough to do this, chosen because she was a parachute trooper. And, of course, we know those first 6 Russians all landed on their feet, on their parachutes, after they ejected out of the Vostok spacecraft that had its own parachute to land. But we're going to feature today, Marty, a very interesting lady we met, Wendy Lawrence. And look at Wendy's flight patch there. It says too short, okay? Which she was too short. Wendy Lawrence to put on a spacesuit and do an EVA. Her time in space is 51 days on 4 shuttle flights. She has had some awesome missions. Twice she went to the Mir space station, and then she was on the return to flight commanded by Eileen Collins when we took Discovery and put us back in space after the Columbia disaster. So that takes some guts, I think, okay, when you're on the first shuttle be launched after you just lost one. And Wendy is pretty short, about 5'1", wouldn't you say, Marty? She's born in Jacksonville, Florida. All right, now dig this. And I'm going to shout out to Gary Jarrell and Doug Forrest and Dave Stange and Tom Usiak and Robert Law. Been watching us from the beginning. And I bet you guys and ladies didn't know this, that she is the daughter and granddaughter of famous naval aviators. Her granddaughter was the noted student athlete Fatty Lawrence, and her father was the late Vice Admiral William P. Lawrence, a Mercury astronaut finalist and a former Vietnam prisoner of war, who became the superintendent of the U.S. Navy Academy. and during his last 3 years of midshipman. And he was the person, they named a destroyer after her dad, the William P. Lawrence. All right, how cool is that? She graduated from Fort Hunt High School in Alexandria, Virginia. Of course, her dad being a naval guy, couldn't get too far away. She's been at Woods Hole Oceanographic Institute, a real soft-spoken, humble lady when you're in her presence. She had a good talk, but Marty, I didn't make many notes of it. She, of course, worked the arm on the shuttle, and she said during the shuttle that everybody had a sprint mentality. Okay, you're going to be up there 10 days, and everything, bingo, is a sprint mentality. But when you were going to the International Space Station, okay, like she did on 114 in 91, she said it was you can't have a sprint mentality. You need time off. And she said that was the big difference from her spending 8 or 10 days on the shuttle and then being 8 or 10 days on the space station, was it was more relaxed. You had more downtime. But when you were on that mission with a telescope or retrieving the mirror or getting the Hubble released like she did, or she didn't do that, but it was like you had a lot to do and you were focused, and she said it was like a sprint. And I found that very interesting. She did 2 trips to the Mir Space Station, STS 86 and 91. I believe those were about a year apart. 91 was 98, yeah, and 86 was 97. And I asked her, she talked about that it was very cramped. And I said, well, you went up there like 2 years apart. What was different up there? She said, nothing. She told me nothing was different. It was even worse. They don't get rid of anything up there. She said they have stuff just, it tears up and they just stick it in the corner. Now, some stuff they would put in the cargo ships to send back, but even those got full. But she said it was just a cluttered mess of useless equipment and, of course, the science experiments that were around there. So that had to be an interesting thing. And she said space is a lot like being in a swimming pool in there. So, and she talked a lot about the return to space in 114, Wendy Lawrence did. And we hope that you go out there. Here she is. This is her mission there of Astro 2 is the mission of March that she was a participant. All these women were in space on March. All right. And there she is with Tammy Jernigan as they were mates together on STS 67 when the Astro 2 astronomy mission was going on there. And you can kind of see how their face fills out there. That's what they say, is that your face gets rounder as the fluids go up there. There is the space telescope that Wendy worked on, and there's her autograph there with Sam Durrance, one of the astronauts on board there. And there's Wendy looking good in a formal picture. I forget what she does in her current life. I just believe she does outreach, on there. And there she is. She was with myself and Marty and Anita Truex. I want an adjective of the amazing, the wonderful, that we can't do without Anita. She's our office manager. And Anita, you've all met her if you've been in the museum, and she's been here because Marty, she does a fabulous job of sending people to me every day that are interested in space, and has gotten us 4 or 5 interviews and people to connect with. And we just love you, Anita, to the moon and back for sure there. But, and there's somebody that Marty's actually taller than. How about that? So,
Yeah, I was looking at the picture and just thinking that same thing.
okay, good. What have you got to say about either Mark Foreman or Wendy there on our USAC mic?
Well, gosh, I mean, I was impressed with Wendy. I thought she was terrific. I like her nickname, Too Short. And I think you're going to tell that story. But before you do that, Anita also has the best gift shops since I've been involved with the museum. She's doing an excellent job at the gift shop.
Absolutely. Our gift shop is nothing like it used to be, and we encourage you to come in. You don't have to pay to come in our gift shop and buy you some gifts for the grandkids or the kids or yourself or whatever. We do have a lot of cool things in there. And I know it's draining Marty's wallet as she buys new stuff in here all the time because they go out there wanting to I get some autographs too, but so her nickname Too Short was she was scheduled to be a spacewalker on the Mir space station. She was actually going to stay on the Mir space station. The Russians realized that she wouldn't fit in their Orlan suit. She was too small, and she was too small for our spacesuits. And she'd really be swimming in it. What was too small was her arms wouldn't reach out, and her torso would be floating around there, so she wouldn't be able to reach the gloves and so forth. So unfortunately, though she was scheduled to be on the Mir space station, David Wolf took her place on there, and they forever nicknamed her Too Short. And she's obviously a good sport about the whole thing. But if you're in town, I know people think that the Space Center at what is it now, $75?
83, I think.
Oh, $83. It's worth the $83 to see Atlantis, folks. The presentation of Atlantis. And to see this space shuttle, it is so huge. It's in midair, like it's a TAC flight coming into landing. And I mean, you can't get into Disneyland for $87. I'll tell you that. But of course, it's more of an amusement thing. But they do a great job out there, and I think for a couple more bucks, you can get a 2-day pass and see the whole thing. But we enjoy going out there. In fact, we're going to go out there tomorrow, aren't we? I'm going to go out there tomorrow and see astronaut Jack Lausma is back in town, our STS-3 and shuttle worker there, Jack Lausma. The alternate test flights is what he was doing too. And Skylab astronaut. And he loves talking about Skylab. So I can't wait to see you, Mr. Lausma, tomorrow. Yes, Marty, question from our fans.
Yeah, Dave Stang is asking, didn't have time to shop last visit. Do you have a listing online that shows what is all available in the gift shop?
No. A listing online for all that's available in the gift shop? No. But we welcome you to come, Dave, and we'll give you a notebook, and you can start writing them down there.
It's a good idea.
It's a good idea. We should be selling this online and so forth, and maybe we will. But we literally have 5 full-time employees here. Actually, about really 3 full-time and a couple part-timers. I'm blessed to be one of the full-timers, so, and Anita is too. So I'm just saying that good idea. But maybe we'll get to that stage again. But we're always changing things. That's the other thing, is she's always buying new stuff as it buys out for the latest Artemis launch or SpaceX launch or what's coming down the pike. I think we have Starliner patches in here now. Excuse me. So thank you, Dave Stange, for asking that. Steve Hammer's watching. Cynthia Rossi, Daniel DeYoung. We can't wait to see all you in our museum. I hope Daniel's planning on coming to the Shuttle Fest. And maybe Gary Jarrell will be coming down here for that weekend. 2 weekends away, and we're looking forward to it. I'll be honest with you, we don't have a single astronaut booked yet, but I think a couple will be attracted to it. My executive director, Karan Conklin, and I, we kind of done that on purpose as we want to stand on our own. And when we reach the level where there's 5 or 6 astronauts at the museum, at an event, we're going to have someone underwrite them because they don't need to do this for free. A lot of them charge $15,000 to $30,000 for a speaking engagement, and when they're doing it for free here at the American Space Museum, we don't put a whole lot of pressure on them because we don't want to misuse them. So, but I have a hunch we'll have 2 or 3 astronauts there because I still have a few to get back to. So, but hope you enjoyed today's program. Marty, we got anything to clean up on our Streamlabs?
Nope, we're good, Mark.
Well, thank you for a good, smooth job today. And tomorrow is Thursday. I'm going to try to feature women the rest of the week, okay? Got a couple more in my mind that I'm working up on, one very special one. Because we do want to celebrate Women's Month, and a lot of people do it on the front end. And if you know me, I like doing things a little different, so we're doing it on the back end on there. So, yeah, I'd like to thank Sullivan here for helping us today. One of our bookkeeper is going to jump in and try to help us do some Stay Curious there. So thank you, Sullivan. We'll get him on camera one day, but he's been a great addition to our museum as a bookkeeper and learning all kinds of things here. And he was watching over Marty's shoulder today. Connie will still be in here occasionally, but we got to get some backup so Marty can go see his grandkids out of town and stuff like that. So, all right. Well, thank you all very much for your attention on Stay Curious. Tomorrow we're going to have, I think I'm going to do three more special women, but they happen to be leaders in our space centers. So hint, hint, hint. Until tomorrow, I'm Mark Marquette saying we can't wait to see you in our museum to bridge the space between us.